Hello and welcome to today's Power Boost meditation, and also greetings and best wishes for the new year. My name is Ines and I will take you through the next about 15-20 minutes. And the topic for today is seeing and connecting beyond the obvious. Every moment we are basically seeing, meeting and connecting with others, whether it is at home, at work, at leisure time, in public places. And so typically, when we see others and then eventually also connect, when we see others, when we look at others, what is it that we are seeing? Basically, we are connecting with what our eyes are seeing, and that is the physical appearance of the person, how they are dressed, hairstyle, color of the skin, body language. Now, these are all expressions of the body. And then even a little bit more of a subtle level, I think it's part of communication. We also feel others. How do I feel about you? And how does the presence of someone feels to me? But the way we look at each other, the way we perceive, so the perceiving is then connected to it's like a collection of data. I'm collecting data through the physical senses, because it's through my physical senses that I am connecting with you. That's what my eyes are seeing, what I am feeling, what I'm hearing, what I'm smelling. And then also intuition. But mostly it's sense perception. And so as I perceive, I also judge. I evaluate. I evaluate the information that I perceive. And that evaluation, that process of evaluation is something, of course, that happens internally, but it's also very subjective. Yes, it can be influenced by facts, by logic, but the great part that influences how I process data, process information that I'm perceiving through my eyes, for example, is based on my personal, very individual belief system. The ethics, the morality I believe in, for example. And so how I perceive and judge someone or a situation will be different compared to another person. And then consequently, based on what and how we perceive, how we interpret the information, how we judge, based on that is then my experience. And so that experience can be positive. There can be a resonance between the two of us, or how I resonate even with a situation, with nature, or a disresonance, attraction or repulsion. And if there's some kind of resonance, I could get excited, I could feel curious about meeting you, I can be excited, but also indifferent. It really depends on how I interpret the information in relation to meeting others, meeting people in relation to situations. And then dependent on the quality of experience, based how I interpret data, information, is then also the way I interact, the way I relate to the person, to the situation. And so dependent on the interaction, if I feel good about someone, if I feel good about the situation, I will also have positive feelings, positive thoughts. There's an initial interaction, and then maybe gradually we enter a relationship. But if my perception, if my judgment is of being critical, is that meaning when I see something, someone, and I have a negative judgment because of my belief system. Why do we have racism? And all this discrimination, gender discrimination based on physical characteristics, based on the body. There's so much upheaval in the world, so much suffering. Everyone has their own preferences, likes and dislikes. And so according to my perception, to how I interpret or process the information, the experience that I have, the quality of interaction are then my thoughts and feelings, and how I eventually the decisions that I make. And so when we live based on this approach, this is typically what happens, how we function. And it's an outside inside. The information goes from the outside to the inside. So an outside inside approach. So if the outer world is happy, if everything is going well, then my inner world will also be fine. If the outer world is not so great, if there are negative experiences, if there are problems, situations, my inner world also will be of problems and situations. And that's, I think, where spirituality comes in, and where we, if there's upheaval internally, we have negative thoughts, negative feelings, then we can develop anxiety, depression. That's where we then typically reach out to, or can reach out for learning how to meditate. And so when we connect with the spiritual dimension, we actually come to know that there is an inner world, an outer world, and that I have a right to have an inner world. The experience of my inner world can be different from what the world is, or the experience is outside of me. So I do not have to take in everything. So when we think from a more spiritual perspective, then I learn to live from inside out. And I start to take responsibility for what I experience within me. Because what is the inner world? It's all about what I experience. There are thoughts, feelings, intentions, motives, beliefs, and so on and so forth. And the main aspect of my inner world is my identity. And so when we connect to the spiritual dimension, I also come to know my spiritual identity. And that's where I then come to know that at a different level, at a subtle level, spiritual level of who I am, And that's where we come to understand that peace, love, strength, wisdom, joy are innate qualities of the being, of my consciousness. And I have the ability to think, to feel, to judge, to make decisions. But in terms of who am I am a conscious being, self-aware. And so when I developed that way of thinking and understanding of who I am, I develop a positive self-image, to self-respect, and so on. And then, of course, when I look outward, when I look at others, when I look at the world around me, I have the power to also connect to what is good, what is positive. I can connect to the specialties of others, to their strength, because that's what I'm connected within my own self. And that's also where the self-value comes in. So I will pause at this point and invite all of us to move into a meditation, more or less a reflective meditation. And so for the next few moments, I choose to turn inward and temporarily leave all my other activities, my thoughts, experiences. I put it aside. I go on a journey inward and I focus on that still point in my mind, just behind the center of the forehead. I just imagine there's this point of stillness. And I emerge the awareness, the thought, the awareness, the understanding that there's much more to me than just my physical appearance. I, the being, also have a spiritual identity. And within that, I am a peaceful being, a loveful being. I am strong, I am wise, and there is joy. So as I hold the focus on that still point in my mind and create this very beautiful, truthful thoughts about who I am, I also recognize and realize my own value. And my value, the value of the being, is connected with who I am. I value peace, respect, kindness, love, forgiveness, acceptance, honesty. These are some of the qualities, some of my inner values. And this is what I uphold for myself as I interact with the world around me. And so when I look through my eyes at others, at the world, situations, I now have the power, the courage to see the goodness, to see possibilities. Differences on the physical level are no more a threat to me. And I can interact with respect and love with the world around me. And in this way, my mind is always engaged in an upward spiral, looking for solutions, possibilities. Om Shanti.